Well, hey guys, it's been a while since I did any projects. This is something I did a while ago, and I thought I'd just do a video on this. But this is my Browning Buckmark. It's a URX model, 5.5-inch barrel, has the bull barrel on it. Nice little gun. I got the 10 cross trigger on there. I swapped that out from the stock curved trigger. That felt a lot better in my hand. And so let me just rack this back. Okay. And it feels good in your hand. The one thing I didn't really like about it for target shooting is it has that fiber optic front sight. My eyes just couldn't adapt to it. I've been shooting 3-dot for so many years. I don't know. So I looked around and I didn't really see a whole lot of choices on the front sights themselves. So you know me, I've been dabbling with the 3D printer, and one day I just wondered if I could design one for myself. So I did fashion up this one here, and I did this on the 3D printer. I did this out of PLA. I'm sure there's a better material for it, but actually this one I've had on the gun for probably a year and a half now. And if you left it in the direct sunlight for any given amount of time, it could go away. But if you don't expose it, it seemed to last a pretty long time. Like I said, I know there's other materials out there. I haven't played with them. So this is my little adventure of making up these sights. I did this one here. I did them with different dot sizes. This one worked the best for me. That's a 1.5 millimeter dot. That was actually the last one I made. The first one I made right here, this has a 2 millimeter dot. And I put that on, and that thing was way too big. So I redesigned it again, and I went too far the other way. This one I put a 1 millimeter dot on it. That was too small, so I had to back up, and 1.5 millimeters was the right dot for me. So I mean, easy thing to swap out here. Find an Allen wrench. All it is just you got one screw at the top here that you can undo. The other thing I noticed when I was shooting this, I thought the front sight was too short, and I ran out of adjustment on the back sight itself to compensate for it. So this one I actually put a 30,000 shim underneath of this thing to make the sight go taller, which would help bring the muzzle down. So when I designed these, I incorporated that height of the sight when I designed this. So, and on the bottom, if you can see here, there's, let me get a pointer here, you have your through hole right here, and then there, right up here, there's a little hole, and that there indexes on that little pin right there. So that is that. So from there, I'm going to start fresh. I'm going to print up a new sight, and then we'll go into prepping it and getting it ready. So, all right guys, here we go. Okay, here we are. We're set up at the program here, my slicer. I'm using Cura 341, and I'll just show you a couple of the settings that I thought were crucial for this. So we'll go over to the settings here, and we'll look down, and the one I wanted to do here is enable bridge settings. Was one. This one I did print on a raft right there, and pretty much if you guys are familiar with your 3D printers, those are the two crucial ones I did. I did 100% infill on this. I slowed my speeds down a little bit. So that's pretty much it as far as the sight itself. And if I bring it down to layer view, you'll see there prints with a brim around there, gave it a little extra support. So I do have an account with Thingiverse, and I'll get these files up and put links to them, so if you want to try it, they'll be right there. So that's that part of it. Okay guys, just got done printing up another front sight here. It's still on the printer, and so I'm going to get this sucker off and get her to the bench, and then we'll go on to that other stuff. So a little bit of that, just like that. Alright, off to the bench next. Okay, we're back to the bench here. We got our piece made up. It's still on the raft. I designed this in Fusion 360. It's a neat program. I don't know if I'll ever figure it out before I die, but there's a lot of stuff in there. But this pops off this raft pretty easily like that. So that's trash now. And here's our front sight. So we got to do a little bit of cleanup here. The hole in here, couple little whispers. Just run a knife through there just to clean that up. The other hole in the front there, that's probably clogged a little bit because I don't use supports when I do this. Just too much debris to clean out. That's that whole overhang deal, support overhangs. So a 3/32 drill bit is pretty much what you need for the front hole. You might have to go in a little bit deeper with this because it does get a little bit clogged up as you're printing it, but you can just do that by hand. Yeah, get in there deep enough. Now our next problem here is, I don't know if you can see, but this isn't a nice contour right here, so we're gonna have to fit this to the barrel. That's not too hard of a deal here. So let me just move things around a little bit. What we're gonna have to do is hold the gun in the vise so we can use the barrel as our mating surface with some sandpaper. So I'll get things moved around and then we'll do that. Okay, I mounted the gun in my vise here. This is a wooden vise, so I'm not really concerned it's, padding things. I just grabbed it by the trigger guard and just snug it up just to hold that in place. But what we have to do is get this, see, it just doesn't want to fit nicely on the barrel. So what we can do here, I can just take a piece of sandpaper like that. I can wrap this underneath a little bit, make it a little easier for me, and just hold it tight on the barrel and try to hold this thing as true as you can. Try not to cock it like that. Try to hold it nice and true and just easily start going back and forth. This is 150 I'm starting with. I got a piece of 220 right next to me, so I'll do a couple of passes of this and we'll take a look at it, and you can see it's starting to knock off those high points. So this isn't too bad really. So just to conform to the barrel, and you don't have to go 100%. Just whatever feels good, but you can start to see it taking shape now. Sometimes I'll flip it a little bit and work both ways. You could always tape this paper to the barrel so it frees up both hands, but you can see it's starting to shape up there. Definitely have a high spot in there. But like I said, I did that other one, I'd say a year and a half ago, and it's still fine. So if you want the adventure of making one yourself, I'm always trying to think of how I can make that 3D printer do something cool, and it has come in handy on some of these projects. I haven't used it in a while, I was starting to forget about it. Not forget about it, but forget how to use it. That's the main thing. And the CAD program too. That's if you start getting away from it, to relearn stuff, it's tough. It's tough. If you're doing it every day, it's fresh in your mind. So just do that. That's not too bad right there. Let me just switch over to something a little finer here. This is some 220. And we'll just smooth this out a little bit. Just to fit. Okay. Really, that's not too bad. Looks like it should conform to the barrel fine. Give a little extra here. And get this done. We're almost finished with this thing. Might have to ream that hole out just a little bit more. Oop, I bumped the camera. That's all intents and purposes. That's good enough. Okay, let me move things around here again and undo this. So now the next concern is we got that hole deep enough that that pin will drop all the way on, and I can see it just wiggling a little bit, telling me that that hole still has to be gone down a little bit farther than it is, because it's hitting the top of the pin. But I know I have the hole deep enough in the design. It's just when it prints. So this is probably your safest method of going in there and cleaning this stuff out. You don't want to go in there with a drill, and next thing you know it pops out the other side. So just go in there a little bit at a time, and once you get it deep enough, then okay, that seems like it's working. Okay, now we have the sight on there. Now for the next project is we have to get a little color into this, and this is a little interesting too. But all right, I may need to get a little bit of a lacquer thinner just in case I missed that hole a little bit for cleaning up. So let me reach over here. Yeah, I'll get some of that. This stuff's pretty tough against solvents. I've tried it before, and it just doesn't melt it like you think it might. And I wouldn't be using a lot of it anyway. So I'm just going to get a little bit of lacquer thinner in a cap here in case I get a little bit overshot with the white. Now what I do for the white is I have this stuff around. It's porcelain touch-up. It's Sheffield's. It's a lacquer. You can get this at your hardware stores, Home Depot. Any of them should have that. But I use this a lot on touching up sites if they need touched up. But I've had this bottle around for years, and at worst all I gotta do is put a little thinner in it and thin it out a little bit. So I just thinned it out before I start this video. What I like to do with this stuff is I just get a T-pen, any type of pen. I like to snip off the sharp point of it and just hit it with a file a little bit and create a flat surface on that. Makes it a little easier going in because you're just putting a little bit on the end of that tab going in and just kind of rolling it around inside, and then that's it. You just let it dry. If you need to, Q-tip and a little bit of thinner. So let's see how good I am here today with this. Some days I can do it, and some days it's a mess. But hopefully I won't screw this up on camera for you. So And that looks like a little bit too much on there. So let me just take a little bit off of that tip and get in there. And we gotta roll this around in here and get the smear in that hole like that. My eyes are not what they used to be, but pull that out. Still need a touch more in there. And I'll put a little more on the end of the tip here. And it looks like I got a little bit on that edge. So just kind of get in there and roll it around and get that hole to get some color in there. Still a little more in the bottom. And this is a little bit of a tedious part here, but not a huge deal. Take your time. It's tough doing it on camera. Everybody's watching when you do it. Okay. And we just about got this sucker. A little bit more in there, and then I'll have to. Looks like I'm gonna have to clean up the edge with the Q-tip there. But idea is try not to get too much on the edges, and okay. Well, I'm going to call that good enough just for time's sake here. So I'm just going to put that needle down. I'll grab me a Q-tip here and just dab off a little bit and work the edges off a little bit. And I'm not going for perfection here. I don't want to take up too much time here, but you get the idea. You can go back after a while, but now you can see your site. There's a little black spot in the middle of that thing, but for right now that's fine. You know, you can just clean that up. You know, if you wanted to make it a little bit duller so you don't have as much reflection, you could always scuff the ramp up a little bit. I see one or two little whispers at the top there that you could just put on a flat surface, and one or two pulls will take the top down like that. So let's say that dot is good, which it's not 100% right now, but I'm just showing you how to do this, and that's it. Now we can just put it on our post, and put this on the Allen wrench. Get this guy started like so, and that's a little tight. It could have been reamed out a little bit, and just get it to where the screw is just coming out the bottom, and find the hole in the barrel. And we don't want to cross thread, just find it like that. It'll locate on the front pin there once we get down far enough. And that's it. Yeah, just don't crank down too hard on this stuff. And that's it. So now you have a new front sight. So there you go, guys. Give me some feedback, and I got the links on Thingiverse for all three of the sights. I got the 1.5 mil, the 1 mil, and the 2 mil, and they're all listed. So I'll put links on this video for that. All right, guys, that's it for today. Take care. One quick note here, guys. I was in a rush when I did the sight on the video there with the paint. I think the paint might have been a little too thick. and I like to clamp it into something and do a nice job. But this is the original one I did, and you can see it turned out really nice. So if you take your time, you'll get good results from it. So, all right guys, take care.